My name is Wendy Ivory. I'm principal at OCPS ACE, which is off of Paramore. It's a part of Orange County Public Schools. The school that I am at has 1,100 kids. We serve them daily breakfast, lunch, and supper for those that stay after school. We are in one of the most impoverished areas of Orlando, here off of Paramore, Livingston, and Amelia. We have, like I said, about 1,100 kids. They are 100% free and reduced lunch, and many of them come very hungry in the morning. Our breakfast program in the morning, we have an alternative way of doing it because the challenges that I faced when I got here October 30th, are many of the students when they came in with that 1,100 kids, it's hard to serve them all in the cafeteria at the same time. So what we did was we looked at the different various areas around the school that we could have like breakfast on a cart to serve the kids as they come in, because it's really important for them to start their day out with food, because many of them come, like I said, very hungry, and some of them, this may be their only meals that they eat throughout the day is here at school. So what we do is we have our pre-K students eat in their classroom. We have kindergarten through second grade stationed in a hallway with the food on a cart. They hand the food out to the kids, and then we have collaboration areas that they can eat. The middle school students, because we are pre-K through 8th grade, middle school eats in the gym. And again, there's a cart. They hand out the food as they come in, and then they go in the gym and eat. And then our 3rd through 5th grade students cycle through the cafeteria to get their breakfast in the morning. We also have a cart because we do have some students that come late, and I'm just a big believer that they need to start out their day with a meal. So we do grab and goes in the morning by the tardy table. When they come in, fill out their tardy slip, they get a grab and go, and they go to class, and that's, if they don't eat it then, they can have it for snack later. Our pre-K students eat their breakfast in the classroom, and they do have 2 adults in there, so it's a contained area where they're able to help them open up their breakfast and so forth. It also keeps them from having to walk, because we have a very large campus, so it keeps our pre-K students from having to walk all over to get to breakfast in the morning. So it makes it real easy. They grab their breakfast, they sit down and they eat it in the morning, and then the paras clean up after them and show them. It gives them a little extra time to teach them those skills of opening up the milk, throwing away your trash when you're done with breakfast, and so forth. I bridge the gap with FNS by communication. I think it's key to communicate with your cafeteria managers. And my cafeteria manager here and I have a great relationship where if I have a need and it's a last minute need, I know we try not to do that, but as principals that happens. I send her an email or I go over and talk to her and she makes it happen. And an example was, again, when I first got here, we had kids that were not getting breakfast in the morning because they were coming late. So I asked her to do the grab and goes over by the tardy table, and the next day she had it was done and moving. So that was an example. And another example would be when we moved some of the kids into the hallways. I had to explain to her why. And also the kids that go into the cafeteria for 3rd, 4th, and 5th, we shut off the hot breakfast at a certain time and give them a grab and go so they're not late to class. I talked to her about that, gave her my rationale as to why we needed to do that, and she had it done the very next day. So I think the key is communicating and giving the reason behind things sometimes, because as people can understand why we're doing things, then it makes it easier to implement it. I think that when students come to school knowing that they're going to get a meal, it does definitely help with their demeanor. An example would be a student came to school this morning and he was not having a good morning and didn't think he was going to get breakfast. So when I interacted with him to find out what was going on, it was because he was hungry. I mean, this is Monday morning. I don't know what he ate last night at home. So being able to provide our students with those opportunities to eat when they are hungry, I think definitely does have a big impact on behavior. It has a big impact on, can they focus in their classroom, can they do their work, Because when, you know, I think about when I'm hungry, I really don't, I want some food. It's hard for me to focus on what else is going on if I'm extremely hungry. So taking away that barrier to education right then and there is an easy thing for us to do to ensure that our kids feel that their basic needs are being met. And then they can come in and sit in a classroom for a few hours before lunch and learn. Some of the challenges that we had in regards to the alternative placement of the breakfast in the morning was definitely cleanup, because you know, you have 300 kids in a hallway eating breakfast. So we did have to train the staff that were in the hallways on how to train the students on how to throw away the trash, make sure if you spill something you let somebody know, and so forth. And then our custodians immediately go into the hallways right after breakfast in the morning, right after the bell rings, and they straighten up a little more, sweep, mop if they need be, and clean up any extra things like they would in the cafeteria with kids. So those challenges were easy to identify and pinpoint. It took a little more to implement because, you know, we're now talking about 3 or 4 different areas than the cafeteria. But what we did was we talked to the custodians and gave them a schedule on how to do that, and they implemented it, and it took a couple weeks to get used to it, but now it runs very smoothly. To that principal that's not sure about implementing the breakfast model, I would say try it. You know, it may not work exactly like it works here at OCPS ACE, of course, because it's a different environment at different schools, but it's definitely worth the effort, because I have seen a difference in my kids, just how they are in the morning, how they start out their morning, and that kind of sets the tone for the entire day. So I really think it's worth a try. And like I said, we weren't able to implement it perfect right off the bat. We had to adjust along and look at the different areas that we needed to adjust. But once we did that and we found the perfect fit, now it's running very smoothly.
Great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
My name is Delvin. I'm the operation manager for ACE, which is the Academic School of Excellence, K-8. And
I'm Jennifer. I am the Food and Nutrition Services lead here, and I have been here since August of 2017. For breakfast, we typically serve around 700 students. We do this several different ways. We have a breakfast line in the cafeteria for our 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade students. We also have a breakfast cart solely for the middle school students. And then we have a breakfast cart located in the 2nd grade hallway, one in the kindergarten hallway, and one in the 1st grade hallway. Typically on the breakfast carts, we are serving around 500 students per day.
we also offer, for the late students, they offer breakfast up until 9 a.m. At the office area upon entrance.
I think for us, space is an issue because there's no way that we would be able to get 700 students through our breakfast line in a half hour in the morning. So by spreading it out, we can serve so many more students in the same amount of time. In addition to that, the administration here likes to keep the flow of students very regulated so that they're in designated areas throughout the morning. And this allows them to have a place to go where they're being supervised and where they're also eating breakfast and preparing for their day. So they're not crammed into a crowded cafeteria where it's stressful and sometimes you don't get the best meal. They're sitting with their friends in their hallways in their classrooms, and they're having a nice quiet meal and kind of getting ready for their day. We have insulated bags so that we can keep our food warm, and most of our students prefer the warm food, especially in the colder months. We found that cereal bars are not as popular, especially when we're offering them with string cheese, because they just don't like it. And that's just a preference here. So we try to offer the warm food options as much as humanly possible, but always 2 options on every cart. So we need hot storage and we need cold storage. We need cold storage for our milk and our juice and occasionally our fruit options if it's not a shelf-stable fruit that they're being served. And then obviously our warm items we keep in the cooler bags now. And then everything goes on a cart so that it can be wheeled around campus as needed. Typically what we are using right now is just a plain metal 3-tiered kitchen cart. And we use this because it's easy to steer and it's lightweight and it carries everything that they need. They have their tick sheets, they have their anything else they might need for the day, so jelly or cheese or cream cheese, that sort of thing, syrups, whatever comes with the meal of the day, and it's all there for them. Sure, so all of our serving lines and our serving carts use tick sheets, and that's in a system in which we track how many meals we're serving. So every time we serve a meal to a child, we take off a number on the sheet, and that's how they're all accounted for later on.
A complete reimbursable meal. The tick sheets are at a secure point of service where the kids receive one meal, one reimbursable meal, and they're then ticked off. We have two versions, point of sales, and we have tick sheets. The tick sheets are usually go along with P2 schools, which is Provision 2 schools, CEP schools, which is Community Eligibility Program schools. And we use tick sheets because of ID is not required anymore at that point. The whole school is considered to be meals at no charge.
Sure. Certainly some of the challenges are making sure that we're staffed enough every morning to be able to have 5 breakfast locations working at the same time. So that's something that we sort of have overcome, and it works really well now. It's just a challenge in the beginning. Another issue that I was just actually discussing with some of our coworkers is finding out what the students actually like to eat, because it varies from hallway to hallway what their preferences are. So we're trying to tailor that a little bit to the age group and to, for instance, today they had egg sandwiches and they had bagels. One hallway preferred more bagels, one hallway preferred more egg sandwiches, so we're trying to figure out that nuance so that we're making sure that children are getting what they want to eat and we're getting the most amount of children eating. Not really. They've been very supportive and very helpful with moving our carts around or helping us with coolers. There hasn't been too much impact as far as I am aware. We do have the large trash cans located in the hallways where we do serve breakfast so that they are prepared for that. I'd say for us, for a large school, it's certainly been beneficial just in the one aspect of crowd control. It's helpful to be able to separate your students by their age groups instead of having all of them in one location at the same time. And then at the same time, they're engaged in an activity. They're sitting with their friends, they're having their meal, they're being supervised by adults. So it streamlines the morning process of getting in to the school grounds and getting to where you're supposed to be, while also making sure the most amount of children are eating well before they start their day.
Well, I would ask them that they give it a chance. I would like to have a meeting with the schools that are in question, as far as a school that is successful in the best practices, let the management meet, and as well as let the administration share their success stories as well as what's not working, what is working, because each demographic and details requires different things. So it ranges. You have to see what works best. You have to see how the administration is able to help you, as well as the custodial staff. So it's a whole group effort in being successful and using the breakfast models.
Thank you, Principal Ivory, Jennifer, and Delvin, for sharing with us.